thanks to those who are still here with us. And I love that the audience number, or the numbers in the audience are still quite literally the same as from when we were beginning. We go on with the second part, and in this second part, we will tackle issues that are quite different from the ones before. And when I say different, believe me, they are. Especially now, because the announcement of our next speaker goes like this. She was the girl from the mountains, and she had braids, and she studied law, and she decided to take the future of the next generations in her own hands. She decided to fight corruption by dealing with investigations of politicians, terrorist groups, and criminals. Her name is very well known in Albania, but now you'll have the chance to meet her. Elisabeta Imerai, please take the stage.
Good evening to everyone. In fact, I don't know if I feel comfortable with the stage because it's not my thing, but I'm so happy to be here. And not only because I have listened in the afternoon these speakers' real emotions, and they were so inspiring to us, but also because I just understand, not only in this moment, but also earlier, how important is to join civil society, how important is to share things with everybody. And as I was coming in this event, and some days ago I was talking to my kids, and I was telling them that I have to participate in a conference and in a telling story event. And the son asked me, "Are you going to tell any story?" And I said, I'm going to tell my story. And he said, "Which one?" And I feel happy, because I felt happy, because I thought that, I have so many stories to tell. I'm not going to tell you with that little girl, 18 years old, in that period of time in 1997, when for all of us was well known the movie La Piovra, and she decided to be a prosecutor. That girl is me. I have not changed my hairstyle. So, it's okay. And I was discussing with my parents. My mother doesn't want me to be a prosecutor, but I've chosen to be a prosecutor. And I studied law in the Faculty of Justice in Tirana. Then I had the possibility and the chance to be graduated in magistrate school, and the first day of my life working in 24 years old was being a prosecutor. But not a prosecutor in somewhere, but a prosecutor in serious crimes prosecution office. And imagine, 24 years old, a little bit younger than today, but having the possibility to investigate with serious crimes. Crimes related to terrorism issues, crimes related to corruption in the field of politicians, crimes related to organized crime. And day after day, I felt comfortable in my work, in fact. And in fact, I think that the most important thing for all of us is having courage and dignity in his work. Now, I'm not anymore a prosecutor, but I am a professor in the university, and I keep studying a lot, and I keep teaching, and it's very important for me, the generations, because the future is very important. Let me show you some aspects, not how important is doing the investigations, but let me show you some very, very specific points in which I want to share, because it's not only doing your job as a prosecutor, but is also feeling as a woman, or doing your job being a prosecutor and being prejudiced as a woman. For example, when I was investigating a case related to terrorism issues in 2013, maybe some of you will remember that was a very high problem in Albanian society, that some people, some of our people, were recruited to send them to fight in Syria. And this is a very serious problem, not only as a crime, but also as a social problem. And I began to investigate a case related to terrorism issues, and in the end, after 9 months or more, having done the investigation, 9 people were found that they have committed crimes, and they were arrested. But the point is, not only, or I'm not going to share with you the details of the investigations, but let me show what I was faced with it. Because those 9 people that were not the people that represented the religion, but some people that wanted to use the other people using their religion. And for them, the hardest thing, it wasn't being in jail. The hardest thing, it wasn't that they were going to send, we were going to send the case in the court. The hardest thing for them was that they were being in jail from a woman prosecutor. And they keep telling to me day after day, Elisabetta, do you know which is the role of a woman in society? And I keep saying to them that I'm not Elisabetta, and just right now I'm just your prosecutor and you are in jail. And I know my role. And they keep saying day after day, and even in the court sessions, that women should be at home, women should have other things and other jobs to do. Women should be carrying out with children and nothing more. And it was this was not only, let me say, their opinion. It was also, or it was a psychological message that they were giving to me and making me feel not comfortable in my work. But of course, I have done my work. Those people were found guilty, and we have not done only the thing to found the people guilty, but we also have done a very important thing to the society with this case, because we prevent the thing we prevent for the other people in Albania to be recruited and to go to fight in Syria, to send children there and to send women there. A second aspect that I will share with you today is also a very beautiful moment. In fact, let me call it beautiful because it includes my son. Imagine that you have been working hard and putting some people in jail with a case related to organized crime. We managed to arrest 18 persons. And I go back home at 9 o'clock, I think, and my son wanted to see Kung Fu Panda, a well-known cartoon movie, with me. And imagine, you have to be prepared for tomorrow. 18 persons that has committed serious crimes, they will be in the court in front of you. They will hear you. What are you going to say? What are your evidences? And you are in front of them. And you have also to watch the movie Kung Fu Panda. Who can say no to such a beautiful face that says, stay with me, because we are going to see together the talking turtle. Okay. So that was why I was inspired. I was just not only as a dream that became true, that I was a prosecutor, but I was inspired also not only to my kids, but to that beautiful face that said me in the evening that we should watch together the cartoon movie with the talking turtle, because this is the future, and this future of our kids should be safe. And imagine we were seeing the film together, the movie together, with my son, and it was a very beautiful expression. And it was a very beautiful expression that I want to share with you tonight. And I remember that. It was said by a talking turtle, but it says that yesterday is history, today is a gift, and tomorrow is a mystery. But if we all together, in our positions, it doesn't matter if you are a prosecutor, if you are a judge, if you are a human rights activist, if you are a diplomat, if you are a politician, we all together, we want our safe. We want our future, we want our children's future. So for us, it is very important to be involved. It is very important to say something, and we should not be ashamed, not only for nothing. If everything is going to be done with our heart, with love, and with dignity, we should share everything. And when my daughter asked me today, what are you going to tell? What are you going to say? And I said, I'm going to say my successes. I'm going to say my failures. And I'm going to say also that I have learned my lessons. But in the end of the day, we should be together. We should be together, and we should have a strong voice. I want to share something also about a very interesting case. It was a hard investigation with a very hard one, a very strong subject or part of a organized crime was arrested. I was the prosecutor of the case in that moment also, in that case also. And when it is a kind of procedure in a prosecution office in which you have to deal not only telling people that we have evidences for you, but also we have to share what is prescribed in the law. That means that I called this guy, I'm not mentioning his name now, but he's a very well-known gango in Albania. And I said to him, look, you are here because we think that you have committed a crime, this one, and this one. So I am here to say to you that you have the opportunity to collaborate. What does it mean, he said. It means that you can tell me things and I can write. And in the end of the day, we can have the arrangement, because if you can tell me more important criminal acts that are going to be shown, of course, it was very courage. It has been very hard, in fact. We were two prosecutors of the case, and the other prosecutor just kicked me and said, what the hell are you doing? Are you going to make these questions? And I said, it's normal, if you want to collaborate. And he just looked at me and he said, really? I have not committed any crime. It's just an expression. You don't know how to read the law, because he has finished the faculty of law. It happens, why not? And during all my years as a prosecutor, for 18 years, most of these years I used to work in serious crimes prosecution office. And that kind of work, that kind of job, just didn't allow me to change my hairstyle, but it doesn't matter. And for 4 years, I was the chief prosecutor of Tirana district, and I, of course, had to deal with several problems with our society. And I feel very happy that I have now the possibility to share what is the good thing to be done and the bad thing to be done. But I do really have understand the power, the real power in what we should believe. And the real power is me, is you, is the society together. The real power is not the media, in sense of the media that is controlled. The real power are not the politicians. The real power are us. And if we don't have the voice to talk, and if we don't have the courage to be together and to share our experiences, we have not done anything. Now I am a professor at law in the university, and I am very happy to share my knowledge. I am very happy to share my experiences with my students, and they keep listening to me. And as far as I have something to say, I have the voice to say it. Thank you very much, and thank you.
And thank you. Please. Okay. Okay. 2 microphones. I don't need even one, but still. Thank you. Thank you very much, Elisabetta, and I hope you'll stick with us so you can answer some questions if there are any at the end of the second part. And we will continue right away because our next speaker is going to talk about what is important when you make a decision. Because the story is not only something that happened to you, like mostly the ones that we shared so far, but it's something when you make a decision, for example, about why someone started working something about activism, as our next speaker will explain. And what were his purposes on organization about the Pride in Serbia and his role and part in the Europride. Marko Mihailovic, please, the stage is yours.
Hey, thank you so much. Mir Broma, good evening, dobro veče. I'm Marko, I'm from Serbia. I used to be a part of Belgrade Pride. I don't know if I'm still a part of it, but that's a different story. But I want to share a story of why I became a part of it. And the story goes, actually, it starts with storytelling. When I was a kid, my grandfather used to babysit me quite often, and I was really hard to fall asleep, so he would often tell me stories. And I'm mentioning him because the first time I realized that, actually I didn't realize that I was gay, but a funny thing happened, at least it was funny for me looking back now. I was about 5 years old, and my grandfather took me to an amusement park to a bumper car ride. And it was the 90s. I was born in 93, and I saw one guy who had a middle part in his hair, and in those times, that was quite modern. And I felt something, and I told my grandfather, I told him, I think I've fallen in love. And he said, oh, great, with who? And I said, with that guy over there. And he said, no, you didn't. But I felt that I did, and I didn't go too much into it. I was very young. It wasn't really that much of a big deal. And then quite soon I started school, and then I heard one word that would follow me throughout my life. And the word is peder. I don't know how you say it in Albanian, but in Serbian. So you all know that it's a derogatory term for men who dress well. Just kidding. Some of us don't. I do. So somebody told me I started school, and before I started school, in front of my building, there was a lot of kids. We played around, and I felt more easy to play with girls. I felt close with them, and nobody had a problem with it. My parents certainly didn't. And I started school, and I felt like a normal kid. I was scared, first time going to school. And then quite early on, this very troubled kid from my class told me, you're a peder. And in Serbian, the word for spring is feder. So I thought that he called me a spring, and I didn't understand why. And then I asked my parents what the word meant, and they felt quite shocked that somebody told me that. And I didn't understand the nuance of the word at that time, but quite fast, that word started to pop up quite often. And I understood what it meant, and I understood that people meant it as an insult, and that it's a bad thing. And then, that's the thing about growing up as, sometimes we say different. But I don't know what's different about that. There's so many of us. The thing is, our childhood is sometimes taken away from us. When I was in my elementary school, first until fourth grade, we were at the lower part of the school, lower floor, and we were relatively happy. I had a good class. I had lots of friends, boys and girls, and I didn't have that much problems. I did hear the word that I did know that people thought that I was that. But my friends protected me and we didn't have a problem. And then when you start fifth grade out of eight, you go to the second floor, then you're mixed with all the other people that I've never seen. So a lot of older students, and have in mind that I was still like 12 years old or 13, my sexuality hasn't really kicked in, and I didn't really understand who I was, as children most often don't. And especially since I was being called that word so often, I tried to distance myself from it, but I couldn't run away from it. And then I started getting bullied. And to be bullied at such a young age, it's something that children are not equipped to deal with, because as a kid you're supposed to grow, you're supposed to learn things, you're supposed to experience things for the first time, and things that you experience shouldn't be violence and hate and aggressiveness. But sadly for me, I was a target of that. It went on like this. I would go out of my class, go to a different class, and in the hallway somebody would kick me, push me, insult me, mock me. And I was a very sensible kid, so I really had, it hurt me. And when I went to the sixth grade, it hurt me so much that at one point I stopped going to school. I couldn't take it anymore. I went to school every day. I went out of my house, but I found this rooftop in the building really close to my building. And I went there and I listened to my iPod. I discovered a lot of music at that time and a lot of podcasts. So for 2 months, I didn't go to school. And every day I would come back, I would calculate, oh, okay, my school ends there, I come home. Oh, what was school like? Oh, it was good. My parents thought it was quite weird that for 2 months we didn't have a single test or anything. But when you're in that situation, you find ways to develop certain abilities. So I found an ability how to manipulate my doctor to give me like that I was sick, and then I sort of photoshopped it and sort of gave it to my school. So I somehow found a situation that nobody really understood that I wasn't at school. And then for 2 months, I just couldn't handle it anymore. So being at a rooftop, stuck there day after day for hours on end, I started developing some thoughts that children or anybody else shouldn't really develop. I started contemplating whether I should kill myself, because living that life isn't something that I wanted to do, and isn't something that I wanted to be. I thought that I didn't know what life was like. I never really experienced. I was a kid, so I started thinking, I don't want to live like this. Should I end my life? Luckily, and this is out of pure luck, I took a grip. I shook my head and understood, no, I'm not gonna kill myself, but I have to survive this. So how am I gonna survive this? And before that day, I was very, scared. You could read in my body language. I was scared. I was shying away. I didn't really want to look at people. And then I understood that, no, you have to fight. You have to stand up for yourself. So I pulled my shoulders back, put my head high. I built a facade, and I went through life. And since I started acting like that, the bullying sort of decreased, but it didn't stop. Luckily, all those older people finished school, so I was back with myself. But surviving all of that leaves you with a lot of scars in your soul, and I felt very broken. I felt quite sad, and I couldn't really reconnect with my friends. They were scared to stand up for me, because then they would also be victims of bullying. And then the most beautiful thing happened. I went to a very good high school in Belgrade where bullying wasn't an option, and I felt accepted and happy for the first time. And people understood my sense of humor, and they liked me and I liked them. And I enjoyed socializing so much, because I was sort of prevented from having that experiences, that I started failing in my academics. One day, because I just wanted to hang out with my friends and be happy, run around, be a normal kid. And then one day my dad sat me down and he said, we need to talk about something. Your schoolwork is really bad. Why? You don't have any restrictions. We're letting you do whatever you want. Well, what's the problem? I said, you don't even know what problems I have. And he said, what problems do you have? Before I say what I answered, I just want you to understand that sometimes things that are quite obvious to some people are not obvious to other people. And my father didn't really understand that I was gay, even though he and my mom bought me a couple of Barbie dolls throughout my life, but they didn't think that it was a bit strange. So he asked me, well, what problems can you have? And I felt quite, shocked. I said, I'm gay. And he was quite shocked. He didn't expect it. And then I think I did the best move that I could ever do. We sat down and I explained how I feel when I started feeling like that. And I told him everything quite openly. And I was quite privileged that my father understood me. And from that day, I had his, he had my back. He still loved me. He was there by my side. And then, of course, I told my mom. She told me that she sort of figured it out, but wanted me to take my time. And I was quite privileged because in Serbia, and I don't guess, in the rest of the Balkans, you know that it's not quite common to have a supportive family when it comes to different sexual orientation or gender identity, but I did. That was the thing that motivated me to step up and not to be selfish. I felt that I was in a position that, of course, I told all my friends before I told my parents, they didn't have a problem, boys and girls. So I was quite comfortable, and I didn't want to, I see that my time is running out. I have so much things to say, but I'm gonna keep it short. I felt that in 2001, it was the first attempt of Belgrade Pride, and I vividly remember being home with my parents watching the TV coverage of people being beaten up, and I had the luck of having a liberal family, so they understood that it was wrong not to march for freedom and equality and liberty, but to fight people who wanted to fight for freedom, especially since they fought for freedom against the Milosevic's regime and the wars. So I remember them commenting that the people who were attacking the Pride were wrong. And I remember in 2010, I was coming back home from a school trip in Greece. At that point, I was out. And there was the second attempt of Belgrade Pride in 2010. The whole city was shut down. It was 10,000 police officers, 10,000 hooligans going against them, burning the city, demolishing our city simply to stop a march that had the idea to show the issues that we as a community are dealing with. For example, being bullied as a child, not being able to do, I'm cutting it. In 2011, 12, and 13, Belgrade Pride was banned. And I remember being with my parents, with my friends, waiting to see whether they will ban it, and they did for 3 years. And I understood that I don't want to live a life where I'm gonna wait for somebody to make it right for me. I knew that I had the backing of my friends and family. I decided to step up. And I decided to step up and do something, not only for myself, but mostly for people who are not in the position that I am, that I wouldn't have a problem. I wouldn't have as many problems as I do now if I didn't go step up to the Pride, but I don't regret it at all, because I think it's a human thing, and it's our duty to respect one another and to make it right, to feel oppressed, to be oppressed. And this is a conference dedicated to women, and I know that all of you, every single woman, no matter how educated you are, how rich you are, how beautiful you are, or whatever your life is like, I know that you felt oppression throughout your life in different ways, and that's not right. And I think if you must do something to contribute to this fight of equality and of liberty, because the opposite of freedom is jail, not being free. The opposite of love is hate. And for me, there's not much space to ponder and think, what side should you pick? For me, it's quite clear. Sometimes things are black and white. Either you're gonna fight for happiness and liberty and success and progress, or you're gonna fight for oppression. I chose to fight for success. And even though we're not winning the fight at this moment, I know that we're contributing to a greater fight. I'm gonna end here, but before I end, I really wanna thank all of you, the organizers, and especially all of you fellow participants in this conference. I think it's very inspiring to hear so many stories and to meet so many people that by dedicating their careers and lives are helping to change the Balkans. because this is the land for all of us. It doesn't matter whether you're from Serbia, Kosovo, Albania. We're the same people, you know. And I really hope that in 10 years we will be able to look back that we would be able to cherish the success that we contributed to. So, faleminderit, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marco. And talking about the stories, you know, he was talking about the decision, he was talking about the upcoming and upbringing and everything. And the previous ones were talking about parts of their life that changed them. There is one thing when it comes to activism, and I'm saying this announcement for the next speaker also with a little bit of feeling for the words that she will share with us, because in activism there is a point when you feel a little bit lonely, not because of the society, not because of things going around you, but you feel a little bit lonely, especially if you are the most vocal one in the group. So you feel pressured by the ones supporting you and saying that you're the one that should be resolving things, but also you feel pressured by governments, institutions, and so on. So our next speaker will be talking about feeling lonely in between everyone around her, alone in the fight sometimes, while still everyone expects something of her and taking the stage and resolving things for everybody. Marta Lempart. Marta, take the stage, resolving the things for everybody. Applause.
Hello, my name is Marta Lempart and I'm from Poland. So I think for a year now we stopped saying Dzień dobry. We say Slava Ukraini, and I think it's beautiful. I come from a country just next to Ukraine, as you know, and I have to admit something. I have this kind of anxiety, and I don't read my emails much. I read the only thing, you know, like the thing in the hall, on the phone, on the screen. That's the message to all conference organizers. I repeat it all the time. Just try to fit in this little window on the phone. So I actually realized yesterday that it's supposed to be a personal story. And I was like, what? What did you say? Like, what? So it's quite difficult for me. And I thought of an angle that I can present to you that is valuable. It's very hard to make this separation from my work to my life, obviously. I'm the person who initiated the protests in 2016 when the total ban on abortion was being proceeded in Polish parliament. I'm the person who called for the national protest to be held. We won. It's a success story, obviously. And we managed to stop many things since then. We brought support to legal abortion in Poland from 37% to 70%. I am running now a help desk organization for a civic movement that is present in 600 cities in Poland. We have support for legal abortion on the opposition side that was against abortion by 94%. We brought our government down with protests in 2020 by 10%, and they never recovered. They never managed to recover. And I managed to create the massive movement for women's rights, human rights, democracy, and judicial independence that we never had that. That's the thing happening in Poland now. But from the personal thing, I was wondering, how did it happen? I think that my story is a story of basically, I don't think so. When in 2016, I was a member of the Committee for the Defense of Democracy. We were fighting for democracy, for judicial independence, for the rule of law. And then the abortion ban appeared on the table in the parliament. And I asked my leaders in the Committee for the Defense of Democracy, you know, there's abortion ban on the table, like the total ban on abortion with jail for miscarriage. We should do something about it. And they were like, nah, abortion is a bad word. We're Democrats. We don't say bad things in public. We don't pronounce the word abortion. We're not doing anything. And I was like, that was the first, nah, I don't think so. So I went to the demonstration. I called for the national protest to be held in a week from that date. And that my nah, I don't think so, was followed by many others. Because after we won, after we managed to stop the ban, there was this general resistance and this general reaction from the church, from the right wing, from the politicians, from the government, harassing, abusing, calling out women who were local leaders in protests in 150 cities in Poland, mostly small and middle-sized cities. And that was a stupid thing on the government side, because if they stayed silent, the women would just go home because we won. But that was the moment when women were being abused, harassed, and children were being called out in schools by priests, your mother is a murderer, and so on, that they went, nah, I don't think so. That's how we started the movement, with the nah, I don't think so. I'm not dealing with you anymore. And we've had that many times, and I've had that many times. And we fought against the restriction on abortion for many years, each time in the parliament with, it's not happening. And then came 2020, when our government decided to put the case on the Constitutional Court, the so-called Constitutional Court, because it's not legally operating, and to ban abortion via the Constitutional Court, saying, okay, but you know, this is not a parliament ban. It's not a law that you can change. It's a Constitutional Court ruling. You cannot change that. There's no need to protest. It just won't change anything. And that was the thing. And I was, again, nah, I don't think so. And we've protested for 100 days. That's the thing that changed the landscape. And I had many, many other situations like that. When I was being told I'm not good enough, because I'm obviously not good enough. I'm not a proper feminist, I'm not a proper Democrat. There's a checklist, I don't know if you know. If you have the checklists in your countries, in Poland we have the checklist to be a good feminist, we have the checklist to be a Democrat. I don't fit in, like, at all. So in the beginning, I was called by all the organizations, this committee, that I was sitting there and answering questions. Who am I? What is that? And they told me that, okay, you created a massive movement, but we're professionals actually, so just give it to us, and we will just, you know, follow. And you can go back to whatever else you were doing since you appeared before. And I was, nah, I don't think so. And that's the thing. And I have many situations like that. We had, and I had, close clashes with the police. After one of the police interventions, I couldn't walk for a month and a half. And there was a time when we were attacked. They decided not to use the military, but they do use the anti-terrorist brigades and the whole thing. And they were using gas and so on and so on. And after that, I went to my beautician. I love the fake lashes thing. It looks so good in the photo, so I do the fake lashes all the time. So I went to get my lashes done, and it turned out I cannot do that, because when I had this gas thing, in the emergency room, they had to wash my eyes, and it was quite painful, and I had like this trauma thing with anything wet near my eyes. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't allow, you know, the beautician to do the lashes, at least for a moment. And then I was like, nah, I don't think so. They cannot take this away from me, no. And I managed to overcome this. So the nah, I don't think so, I think that's the most powerful thing. When I pass a group of policemen on the street, it's like passing football hooligans for me, basically. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe I should, you know, cross to the other side of the street. That's safer. Nah, I don't think so. That's the thing. That's the one thing. And the other thing is the I don't care thing. We have a movement of people acting locally, doing their thing, whether it's women's rights, it's human rights, it's LGBT rights, it's democracy, it's the rule of law, it's judicial independence, it's the climate change, you name it. We're the biggest help desk for people doing things as they feel, as they wish, as they want, whatever comes within the scope of civic activism, basically. And the main thing that I've learned, and the thing that I really believe is the reason that it works, is that I don't care. I have so many questions. Can we do this? Can we do that? And I'm like, I don't care. You're there. You're putting your name on it. You're putting your face on it. You're acting locally. You know people. You know, you're a grown-up. I don't care. And in the beginning, it was very hard because we're really post-Soviet kind of post-communist society. So there has to be some leadership hierarchy, accepting the ideas. So I had interventions from CTA saying, that city B is planning this and that, and it's not a good idea. And I was like, yeah, I don't care. And I had to explain to people that, okay, you're in CTA, I'm in Warsaw, the capital city, so I don't know anything anymore, because when you live in the capital city, you don't know anything anymore about anything real happening. We're not in city B. The person who is organizing it takes full responsibility, which means she takes 100% responsibility, which means that she should have 100% of power, not 60%, not 80%. She takes 100% responsibility. So she should have 100% of the decision-making, decision power. And it's so hard, because of course I know everything the best. Like I wake up and I already know everything. So I spend my days overcoming this conviction that I know everything the best. And I spend my days supporting ideas that sometimes I don't really like, and that are not radical enough, or are too radical, or I would do it some other way, or maybe I would do it in a different time. I don't care. I'm supposed to provide money for this. I'm supposed to provide media coverage for this. I'm supposed to provide coordination. That's that. And that's the I don't care. And I really recommend that. It's so, it's the best, really. And it works. And I was often asked, aren't you afraid? People do things. You just give them money. I'm not giving money, I'm sharing money. It's our joint account, basically. Aren't you afraid that someone will do something that will backfire? Aren't you afraid of the, lack of control and monitor? I don't know the words even in English. I actually counted that. In 4 years, we had about 6,000 actions in different places in Poland. And I had to explain myself to the media, or I had to explain that, or I had to, put out some fire twice. So imagine building the whole control structure and procedures and whatever things are built in different organizations to avoid those 2 cases. 2 of 6,000. So yeah, the feeling that people know what they are doing. That's the general, that's the impression that I have after all those years. And it really helps. Then I don't think so, but also I don't care. And it's really good not to care, not to have an opinion, or to have an opinion, but just, that's the thing. And of course, sometimes it's hard. And of course, sometimes it feels like the expectations and the being non-person, because I'm a non-person. I'm not a person, like a private person, like an actual human being. No, I'm a non-person. I'm this cartoon thing that you can write everything about on the internet. And it's quite hard sometimes because, of course, our side is very critical and opinionated about how I should be doing things. And sometimes it feels really lonely. And I have this thing that I didn't manage to overcome, or I managed to overcome this too late. And it's the division between women's rights, human rights people, and the whole sphere, and rule of law, judicial independence, Democrat part of the society and the organizations. And we had the test run that we failed in 2020. There was obviously the information that the abortion ban is on the table in the Constitutional Court. And imagine that all the feminist organizations or women's rights organizations said that they are not doing anything about it because it's the rule of law thing, it's judicial independence thing. And it's just boring. I know it's boring. Rule of law thing, judicial independence is, it's like terminal, it's the worst, really. It's So they wouldn't, because this is not the part of the things that they are doing. They are doing women's rights, they are doing feminist things, they are doing human rights, they are not doing with the boring rule of law, judicial independence thing. And the Democrats said that they are doing the rule of law, judicial independence, democracy thing, like real stuff. And they won't say abortion in public because it's, nah. They said, I don't think so. And I was in the middle of it. And I knew if I managed to convince them to join forces somehow, we might have stopped that. We wouldn't have had a ban on abortion if we weren't the only, if I weren't the only one saying, I know this is in the same time judicial independence, rule of law, and human rights, women's rights, abortion issue, and it's all the same, and we have to go together. That's the only way to stop that. And nobody listened. And it was like watching a car crash in slow motion. We knew that it's going to happen. We tried to organize protests, we tried to appeal to the media, but we had no support. Because everybody wanted to stay in their silos. Everybody wanted to stay in their field and just not like to keep the purity. And I'm so angry about this. And of course, we managed to do that after that. Now everybody knows. Now everybody's convinced that it's a joint thing. But it's a little bit too late. And I had that also on the European level. But I managed to overcome this. European Parliament was proceeding 2 resolutions. One resolution was on the rule of law in Poland and about Polish government basically destroying judicial system. And the other was about abortion rights and abortion ban in Poland and women's rights in general. 2 separate resolutions. Again, because Leon, it's the best, when I go to European institutions, for them it's the best if I cry, sit in the corner, cry over lost abortion rights, not talk about the treaties and democracy and the rule of law, no, ever. Like the real stuff is for the big guys. And what I didn't manage to do in Poland, I managed to do in the European Parliament. I managed to find a European parliamentarian who fought in spite of the fact that there was already a political agreement on what the resolutions will be about. And she managed to put the mention of the so-called ruling on abortion in the rule of law resolution. And she managed to put the other thing, that the judicial independence issue, in the abortion resolution on Poland. That's the win. That's the win. I'm very happy about it. So even if it seems that we failed, and I failed at this national level, we managed to do it on the European level. But I'm still angry about this. And please consider that when you're doing anything, because that's what makes people not want to work anymore, not want to be activists anymore. That's the thing. When they see that these are fields and spheres of influence and political decisions, we cannot be like this. We cannot be like that. I'm not like that. I don't care. I don't care. Thank you.
And we do care about time, so thank you very much for being very disciplined and very much interested in this night's speakers and individuals. And congratulations to you all for being with us so long. I know. Is dinner waiting, Dafina? The dinner is waiting, right? At 9? So it won't be cold? Okay. You heard that, right? 12 minutes? Wonderful. Okay, I will be very brief on this because I'm very, very interested in what our last speaker for the night has to say, especially because she has a so much different background from all the others that took the stage tonight, especially because her background is connected with something that I do not understand, or tend to understand, but maybe I just act like I'm understanding when I have people like her in the TV shows. But she will also give advices on volunteering, how volunteering is important, mental health especially. And I know that after this long day, we all need some mental health, self-soothing time. For us, the spa is good, by the way. Sleep is a must. Why bother about getting your life together? It's a very important question as well. The personal values about leadership, especially as a woman, and about optimizing your time. Now we will see how Belma Alispahic is optimizing her time on the stage. Belma, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Ogden. Let's see if I'm practicing what I preach, right? Thank you, everyone, for being so patient and for waiting for all of this time to hear me cherry on the top. So what I'm going to try to do in 12 minutes is to tell you how I started to live my authentic life. I'm going to share my story, a couple of milestones that were very important to me, and why I'm here today. So I was 14 years old when I was supposed to select my high school. And one of my best friends at the time, she was like, oh, there's this cool boarding school, they have uniform. Rebel de Way was really popular at the time, so we all wanted to go to the schools that has uniforms. And she goes like, oh, there's this scholarship exam, do you want to join me? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I go to do the test not thinking about what is it going to end up on, and I received a scholarship. So at the age of 15, I am moving out from my really small hometown Bugojno to Sarajevo, which I now call my second hometown. I'm leaving my parents, leaving my brother. I'm there to live with 100 girls, 60 of them sharing 3 toilets. Imagine that, it's been a mess. Sharing room with 4 girls. I have learned a lot about companionship, about community from a really early age. One other thing that I've learned really early was importance of support. I have never met people who gave me the scholarship. Never. I don't know who these people are. So I'm graduating from my high school. Now, I always wanted to do medicine. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to save people's lives. And then I wanted to have second option as well. So I go and I do another scholarship exam test for genetics and bioengineering. And guess what? I got another scholarship. So instead of going to study medicine, which was a really late night decision, me thinking, okay, do I want to commit my at least 6 years of life to just become I don't know what's the word, but it's the basic doctor. And then to go for the specialization, when is my life going to start? When am I going to have a family? Because at the age of 18, I thought I would be married by 23. Didn't happen. So I decided to pursue the career of being a scientist. And by doing that, I actually made one of the best decisions I ever did in my life. Studying something that I found really interesting, which is genes, genetics, and in combination also of biotechnology and how working in a really, really small, detailed levels, we can bring change, we can bring therapies, we can bring cures, we can even understand ourselves better, because now we know that genetics influences how we behave, how we talk, how we communicate. Our culture influences our genetic tags, our epigenetic tags. So I'm still doing my studies, and it comes a time when I'm graduating. And at this point, I didn't know what I want to do. It came to the time when I was supposed to apply for master studies, to receive maybe yet another scholarship and pursue my career forward. I knew that I didn't want to stay in Bosnia. I knew that studying something that high level of science like Bosnia unfortunately couldn't provide me enough for exploring that further. What happened was that I failed. I didn't apply to any scholarship programs that year of graduating. I took a gap year. And that, for me, as an exemplar student, was a shock. A bigger shock was my then best friend, who was supposed to take the same road applying for the university that we were already in. I was like, oh, okay, she has some backup plan. I didn't have a backup plan for me. But what ended up happening was me working night shifts. I remember yesterday talking that I never had a night like all-nighter. I never managed to. I never spent a whole night studying for an exam, just once. But then when I was thinking, what actually happened was that after I have graduated, I started to teach English. And I was teaching English to mainly Japanese people. And what that meant was different time zones. And I actually had, my schedule was basically working from 10 p.m. to 4 p.m., 4 a.m. in the morning, waking up at 11, starting and doing that every day of the week. Saturdays, Sundays, every day of the week I was doing that because that was my escape. I really wanted to, it was my first job as well. So I wanted to do something. At the same time, I was thinking, okay, it's really time to do what I wanted to do, which is my master's. Again, I was lucky or smart enough. I chose Sweden. I was like, I don't want to go to Germany. I don't want to go to Austria. I don't want to be where there's a lot of people from the region. Wrong decisions for some reasons, my own personal things that I have worked on. But I was like, Sweden is a dream place. Let me go, let me try to do that. And I got another scholarship. So, but this time I have received 40,000 euros in money from people that I have no idea who they are up to this day. Another thing that happened at the same time was me meeting Edhem Čustović, who is the founder of the Bosnia-Herzegovina Futures Foundation, which is something that I'm really proud of. I have been volunteering there since 2017. This guy, I had some visa issues. All of a sudden I found out that I have to have 15,000 euros on my bank account on my name to get the visa, because you have to have finances to live in another country. This person I have never met, briefly met on a conference, he did everything that he could to make sure that I get that visa. That didn't mean that he gave me the money, he gave me the connections in Sweden to find a job. Unfortunately, it didn't pay out, but I did go to Sweden. I did my master's there. While I was doing my master's, I had to find a job. So one of the most important things that I did in my life was taking care of a disabled boy. I was looking at almost every day at a boy who couldn't walk, he couldn't speak, he couldn't talk. That was something that made me so humble and so grateful for the basic things that we all have in our lives, which is the ability to just me stand on this stage, being able to see you, to hear you, and being able to do this while standing and having all of my limbs, which is a wonderful thing to be grateful for, and being healthy. While I was doing my master's in Sweden, I discovered computational biology, I discovered quantum computing, I discovered drug design, I discovered so many beautiful things that I didn't know even existed. So I graduated from my master's successfully. Then I was like, oh, it's time to go home. I hate Sweden. I hate being in Sweden. Sweden is so fake. It's not this perfect dreamlet country that I was thinking it is, but it still is. Going back has taught me that I was missing my home that much, that I overlooked everything that was happening, both in Sweden and back home. I went there, I did some shitty job, bad management, quote-unquote Bosnian American company. Left that. Now I'm working at my own startup. I was lucky enough to meet my boss, who basically contacted me on LinkedIn, asking me if I have 30 minutes to spare to talk about how artificial intelligence can help me do my job. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'm bored, I want to do another job. And I did that. We went to that meeting, fast forward. He called me to join the hackathon, EU hackathon. We won the hackathon. We entered the accelerator startup program for 3 months. We won that too. And now I'm doing business. Now I'm doing business. I'm doing business development. I have learned so much about business. I had no idea what value propositions are, what go-to-market strategies are, what everything that needs to be done in business is. But I had great mentors. I had great leaders. I always had support, even if I was feeling like I was failing. I always had my second family, which is the foundation that I'm volunteering at. I always had people who believed in me, even when I didn't. So that's one of the most important things that I have learned, is finding your tribe. Finding your tribe of people who will support you, finding the friends, finding your female friends in particular. I'm really proud of my female circle that I have really grown and made an effort to grow and really connect them as well, because I know how important it is to have healthy individuals around us. Individuals who are not afraid to speak up about their problems. Individuals who stand up, who shout when something is wrong, even if I don't want to do that. Another thing is my mental health and my road to self-acceptance, radical self-love and self-acceptance, which one of my dearest friends who is just sitting there, he helped me learn at the age of 25 something that is really important. I had no idea who I was. I lost my self-respect. And he was the one who pointed out to me. Thankfully, I trusted him enough to accept that and to take this road of really rediscovering myself, rediscovering my values, serving the community as much as I can, the best that I can, and I'm really loving the life that I have. I now sleep 8 hours a night. I do the job that I love. I make my own schedule. I choose the people that I'm surrounding myself with, and I do that in a timely manner, because now I'm running out of time. And what I can leave you with, the message is that we all in this room are time billionaires. If you have 31 years of your life left, that means you have 1 billion seconds. Use that time very wisely.
Please stay on the stage. I thought that you will be speaking about centimorgans, but you weren't, so okay. It's a measurement for the genome, right? Wonderful. I learned something. Okay, so Marta, Elisabetta, and Marco, please join us on the stage so we can have the Q&A session. Congratulations on all of you. Thank you very much. Wonderful audience. I have to be honest that I didn't expect that the numbers will be like this at the end. Very good. Very proud of you. Oh, not like a shooting spot, please. Just yeah, don't harmonize like that, like this. Okay, let's go with the questions part. You will help me with this microphone. Does anyone has a comment or a question probably about one of our speakers, maybe? The first one who does, I will give you my dessert at dinner. Selma, I'm serious. Eh, well, oh, don't tell everyone that I'm giving desserts out. Yes, give her the microphone. Yeah, yeah. She's serious. Especially if it is panna cotta, you will get it.
Thank you, everyone. As someone who really has difficulties when it comes to resting and really living in the moment, Belma, as you mentioned mostly out of four of you, how to do it, how to live in the moment and really take that important rest.
You have to trust yourself that what you are doing is enough. So you really have to trust yourself that what you are doing is enough. Some days that means that you are going to work 150%. Some days that means that you're gonna just relax, because that's also doing 150%. And that's okay. We are all here high achievers. We all have high ambitions, high goals. But if we don't take time to rest and think about what we want to do in our lives, we're just gonna live a really sad life, unfulfilled life. And we are gonna end up being alone at the end, not having anybody who's actually gonna be influenced by what we have done or heard about us.
Thank you, Selma Vilma. Anyone else? Oh yes, I was going to offer something, but you already raised your hand. Yes, please. No, I was going to offer something for the party, but okay. It's about that? Okay.
Okay. Okay, it's very inspiring to listen to all of you. And my question is more of a practical nature, coming from the business sector. I would like to know also from Marta, in terms of fundraising, did you have support from the business sector, or was it only the volunteering from different individuals?
We have two sources of financing. One is international organizations, because obviously our government won't fund, like they will fund me when I'm in jail, basically. So, but that's not the funding I'm looking for. And crowdfunding. So it's about 50 by 50. Our budget is 50 by 50. Now with the war, it has changed. With the big war, it has changed because people basically run out of resources. We cannot get any funding from businesses because businesses are afraid of the government. Small businesses cannot afford that, and the big business won't help us openly because they are afraid of the government. And basically my interaction with them is getting advice to maybe dress nicer and speak quieter, and just that, like, that's the I support you, but you're doing this wrong. So, I don't think so. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm sorry. That's how it is.
Nicely done. Thank you very much, Sana, for the question, and Marta for answering it. Ksenia, we have here a question.
Thank you all. It was also very inspiring and very nice listening to you all. I have a question for Elisabetta, actually. With all of your experience and hardships you went through, what would you advise to young girls, women who want to be in your shoes one day? To take this path or to stop because it's so hard?
In fact, I will give advice to all the women to do what they think that they believe that they should do. And it's not important if you work as a prosecutor, as a judge, or a policeman. You can be a policewoman. If you do your work with your heart, and if you believe in what you do, I really advise that you should do that profession.
Wonderful. As the law is always brief, thank you for the brief answer.
Because I have to tell you this, I just remembered, this is like the judge's resistance in Poland story. Because this is also the I don't think so story. We have those brave judges that are so resistant against government taking over the judiciary, the ones that openly oppose the government, the ones that cite constitution, and this like this high levels of engagement. But there are also judges who release people on charges for protesting without this big show thing. And I've experienced that, and I witnessed that. And this is such a great thing, because I see a person who's just sitting there at the bench, and he's shaking, and he's sweating, and he's terrified. He's not this brave person, the hero, and he never meant to be. And still, he's so resilient. Like, he's terrified, and he's terrified what will happen to him after he makes this ruling properly. And he's shaking, and he's pale, and he tries to say as little as possible, but he still is on this great side, on the good side. It's so amazing to see, because this is also I don't think so. it's not the brave one, it's not the TV show media bravery hero like, but it's also the resistance that is so nice to watch. That's judicial independence for me. That's that. The people who are terrified, but they still do things properly. That's that.
Thank you very much for everyone. It's on, huh? Okay. I will practice soon, hosting like you. So, so you all were talking about the support and the mentoring and everything what you needed to get through in life. However, Marco mentioned something that he has not been, like he has been in events, but not something like it entails mostly women. So actually, from the beginning, this conference was designed to make untold stories heard, no matter where they come from. And I would like to thank you so much for being with us and to share your story. And every time when we identified the person, we asked, like, we Googled, because we didn't want to have someone who is very popular, because the popular ones, everybody knows.
Excuse me?
Listen, listen, no.
Don't Google, go on YouTube. I'm popular.
Listen. No, but listen. The thing is that we wanted to have also popular. Let me finish. You see? I know I'm learning, huh?
Give her your dessert.
No. The thing is that, like, not what you do, but for the person that you represent, I think that is very much important to have you more present in the region and to have your stories told not only through YouTube, but to be there with them. And the same goes with Belma, even though she's in Helsinki. But with Elisabetta, she can share the stories every day at her university, which I think that her students are quite lucky. Marta doesn't care, but I think that she will be back in the region. So, yes. Just closing with a small, tiny question. Marco, what will be your next move, like in terms of community building and fighting for what you are already fighting for?
I don't know how honest. I'm not gonna be 100% honest. I'm experiencing a lot of aftershock after everything that happened. I just want to share a quick story that I didn't share, but it's really important for me since I shared everything. The most shocking part about my work is that this summer I was on tour all for 5 months to promote Europride, and I was in Oslo when the terrorist attack happened, where one guy went in front of a gay club and shot 20 people. I think 21 person died and 30 got in the hospital or something. I gave a speech at that bar the day before, and I was supposed to be there that night. The most shocking thing for me was that when I posted it on Twitter, the people started writing to me hundreds of comments that they should have killed more of you, they should have do this and that. And right now I'm thinking that maybe it's time for me to, as Belma said, to focus on myself a little bit, because I've been doing this for 7 years, and I feel that I'm losing my identity a little bit. I'm losing my my liberty to, be just out of the drama. But on the other hand, I feel that what we wanted to do with Europride, we failed. And I think in Serbia especially, we haven't empowered the community enough. So I'm still pondering whether I should dedicate one more year of my life to Pride, because I genuinely believe in that fight, not only through the Pride as a symbol of the movement, but also for myself as well, because we are legally far from equal. But on the other hand, I'm also thinking maybe it's time to focus on me a little bit. So if anybody wants to hire me, I'm very open for that. Yes. So yeah, I'm still thinking. But thank you for the lovely comment. And I'm not that egocentric. I was just kidding.
I know.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yes. I will now invite Filip once again, and Edita, and also Selma. Yeah, she had to go. Okay, but to come to the stage for a family photo of the seven of you, and then we'll turn around and take a photo with you. right, the last of Mohicans and my